Yo, jer-dog here, your good buddy, and I have a really big mouth. It gets me in a lot of trouble, but I know someone with an even bigger mouth.
Hey! Why are my ears ringing?
It is Tuesday, August 29th. It's 4:20 p.m. This is the 420 report, and we have officially been live now for about 26 seconds. As the audience builds, let me go over the upcoming show dates. This Saturday, September 2nd, if you're in Wisconsin, I will be in Briggsville, which is right outside of the Wisconsin Dells, performing at a little bar called Foxy's Bar. It's a 5 o'clock show. I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to turn out. Usually shows are at night.
Early.
Yeah, that's kind of early, right? It's like a happy hour comedy hour.
Fantastic.
And then next Saturday, September 9th, I'm in Ryo, Wisconsin at the Old Theater. And then I come back to my old stomping grounds right here in central Iowa, Ankeny, Iowa, at the Whiskey House. And that's Sunday, September 10th. But this Friday, for all my Michigan friends, and I know I've got a lot of you out there, you need to make your way to Crystal Lake, Michigan. It's just north of Lansing for the Grassroots Comedy Tours installment. And we are bringing in headliner Katrina Brown, my sister from another mister, my co-star in the He Said, She Said comedy show. And she's my special guest right here, right now on the 420 report. What's up, girl?
Right. Nothing, just apparently I have a bigger mouth than you, so.
Well,
they'll be scared to come see me after telling that.
No, I think they'll be excited. Would you not agree? Would you not agree? You're probably more unstifled than I am when it comes to speaking your mind.
I don't know. Sometimes I think I ramble, but not in comedy. You know, off stage I ramble like an idiot. That's why I'm socially awkward, but people tend to love me anyway, so there's always that.
Right. Have you ever said or done anything that got you, like, have you ever said anything in a comedy show that you're like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that?
You know I have. when we do our Q&A, I sometimes forget that you're taping me, and there have been times that I have probably said things that I shouldn't have, which is why I ask you for editing favors, because I get so into the moment. Maybe I let things fly out of my mouth that not so much that I care that they're said, but other people might care that they've been said. So, yeah.
Gotcha. So you're not embarrassed, but you might be embarrassed for other people.
I might embarrass other people, and that's never my goal.
Yeah.
I try not to do that, but it happens on occasion.
It does happen. Do you want to give us an example?
Yeah, sure. I was doing a show locally here in my hometown in Massillon, Ohio, last fall, and the bar was very small, but they broke fire code and crammed like 200 people in this tiny little bar. And I was making a sexual reference joke, and I said it's horrible when you're in a small town because you see 5 people that you slept with in the audience, and people started raising their hands, and it wasn't even the 5 guys that showed up. But yeah, it's kind of like a marching the skeletons out of your closet when you're working near your hometown, and I probably shouldn't have said that because my older brother was also in attendance, so it was a little awkward. But I was in the moment. It just flew out of my face. I couldn't help it.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, Karen and I went out to a show here in Ames. It was a Saturday night, and she was like, if they ask you, are you going to get up on stage? I'm like, I probably won't, because I still have to live in this town. Right.
I don't mind doing comedy locally. I love it because a lot of my friends who can't get out to travel, or it's hard for them to get a sitter, they'll if they only have to drive 5 minutes, they'll come see a show. And I get that because we're also parents. We know that can be difficult. I think we just live different lives than most people.
Oh, totally.
Make things work in a different way. But I don't mind doing local comedy. And that particular moment, everybody had a sense of humor about it. It was comedy, and I don't hang around with assholes. So everybody was fine, but I still think maybe somebody might have been embarrassed. But I don't mind doing anything around town because I'm pretty much, sense of humor-wise, the same person I was when I was 17. I haven't matured very much. I was a goof then.
Yeah.
But nobody's surprised that knew me then what I'm doing now.
Yeah, well, that's what I run into also is when I get excited to do a show in my hometown or in my local area because I know that there's going to be a lot of people. They've been asking for a long time to come out and see the show, just like I'll be doing here in a couple weeks here in Ankeny, Iowa. I've got a lot of my friends and family. They're going to want to come out and see the show. But at the same time, they probably think, some of them know and are familiar with my sick sense of humor, but some of them are also expecting like class clown jer-dog that's just going to, stuff his mouth full of Starburst and spit it out all over the floor.
Right. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah, I never did that. So.
No, yeah, but,
no, I know what you mean.
They think it's going to be clown time.
I get it. Yeah. I mean, there is a difference between who we were as teenagers, but what I find comical is when I do local shows and people who didn't like me come to see me. Because there's those certain people that want you to fail. It's the reality of life. And it's always a little bit, I don't know, it's very, very pleasing when they come and they expect you to fall on your face and you don't.
Yeah.
There's a certain gratification there because you know as well as I do when you say, hey, I'm going to be a comedian, people are like, oh, you're going to be an astronaut next week? Maybe you're going to be a ballerina. They don't give it any credit until you start to actually make it. And then they assume it's because of some other reason than the fact that you're funny. And there's always going to be naysayers. And I like to prove those people wrong. That's fun. That's a good time.
Yeah, and I also sometimes get the reverse. My inner 16-year-old
geek likes those moments a lot.
What's that?
I said my inner 16-year-old geek likes those moments a lot.
Your 46-year-old
mom my inside teenager, internal teenager, like that teenager that still exists in all of us.
Yeah.
When I, make the mean girls that wouldn't have pissed on me to put me out if I was on fire to put me out, show up at a show in a big gaggle of mean chicks, sit in the back of the club and, talk behind their hand like I can't tell they're talking shit. And then they actually see a good show. And then they want to walk up to everybody. Oh, my God, we went to school together. It's like, yeah, sure did.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's your 46-year-old mom comic that's now getting revenge for all the 16-year-old bullshit that happened back in the day.
Hell yeah!
It's it's a 30-year-old vengeance, emotional vengeance.
It does give a little bit of delayed gratification, but it's worth it.
I also sometimes get the opposite where people will be coming out to really be cheering me on and, they're good friends of mine that I've known for a long time. And they're like, oh, yeah, of course jer-dog's going to rock. And then I get up there and I talk about some of the things I talk about. And they're like, oh, I didn't know that about you. And they don't even really want to shake my hand afterwards.
And, the only time I had that happen was early on at my local club, my home club. They run an amateur contest, and it was the finals of the contest, and I tanked so bad. I mean, there's no way. I'm not exaggerating. It was the most epic fails of my career. Like 5 minutes that felt like 5 hours.
Yeah.
I was so bad. People that love me could not even give me an obligatory, hey, you did a really good job. I mean, they couldn't even look me in the eye.
Right.
So I felt bad for them on that day because there were quite a few people there, but they had been people supporting me since my first open mic, a couple family members and some really good friends. So they knew it wasn't the norm, and I think they felt it as much as I did, because I think people who care about you want you to do well, and they feel it when you don't. And it was just a weird night. To this day, I don't know what the hell happened, but it was horrible. And they, oh, we still love you. You can't win them all, that kind of attitude.
Yeah.
So, but there again, that was when, I was just starting, and the only people that came out were people who actually gave a shit. And it's nice. So.
And that's a long, awkward night, too, because I've done the same thing. I've tanked in front of my friends that were excited to come out, and I was probably even doing longer than 5-minute sets. There's some nights where I was the headliner, and just it wasn't going right. And I had friends that were, and they, of course, they haven't seen me for a long time. They want to go party afterwards. Right. And now, but it's still in my head. I'm still rolling around in my head about what I should have did right, what I fucked up on. I'm a piece of shit. I'm going to quit the business. Meanwhile, everybody around me wants to party it up. And then there I am, the sourpuss. I'm trying to put on the party face. I'm trying to be the wild and crazy party animal jer-dog, but I just can't get that fucking tank out of my head. And I know I'm bringing everybody's mood down.
We're critical. We're critical of ourselves. We are our worst critic. And it can completely alter an evening.
Absolutely. That's why I say bring on the criticism for me, because anybody that makes a complaint at my show or anything that anybody has anything negative to say about me, I've already said 10 times worse about myself.
Right? Exactly. I always say if people want to insult me, they have to do better than me or my mother, because I've heard it all.
Have you, okay, now are you under more pressure working in front of a crowd like that, or in front of where you only have to do 5 minutes? Or are you under more pressure in front of a crowd of strangers like this Friday in Crystal, Michigan, but you do 90 minutes?
You know what? It's equal pressure, because no matter the time, it's always the gamble that people might not like you. You know, it's just the difference between now and way back when I was only doing 5 minutes is we get the experience to try to shift gears to please the crowd to make them like you. Whereas back then, in those 5 minutes, there was nothing I could do to recuperate anything because I didn't know how. But now, if you feel a show isn't going right, you can shift gears and read the people and say, okay, I got to back off the dirty stuff. Maybe I got to back off the kid jokes. Whatever they're not feeling, we have enough now experience to just go where we feel the audience wants us to go so that everybody's happy by the end of the night and people aren't walking out going, we should have went to karaoke. You know, I don't ever want that to happen. So.
Exactly. And that's and it sometimes takes me 5-10 minutes to fill out the crowd like that. Yeah. Like really, because sometimes they'll even throw you off. It's like, oh, they're loving the dirty stuff at first, but then all of a sudden they don't, and then they like the clean stuff, and then all of a sudden they don't. Or sometimes they'll like this topic versus that topic, and it takes you a little bit of exploration to figure all that out. And then what I like to do is gear the rest of my set in that direction.
Well, it's funny because there are crowds sometimes you never figure out. So you're literally jumping through hoops from spot to spot, like the floor is lava. Get on all the different rocks. Because nothing you do, you're not going to be able to rest into that sweet spot. Sometimes that sweet spot doesn't happen, and you're left through the whole show, jumping, shucking and jiving and juggling and, you know, dance, monkey dance, because you can't figure out what people want. But that's still, to me, that's still fun because it's a challenge. And if they were all the same, if they were all, oh, you're going to go and you're going to be perfect, I would get bored because I want to work for what I do. I mean, it's not work in the sense that it's hard work, but it's still work, and I want to be able to work that crowd to make everybody, not everybody, you can't please everybody.
Right.
There's always going to be some asshole in the back with his arms folded across his chest because he wanted to go bowling, and all of his friends took him to comedy, and he has no sense of humor. So it's just you're never going to reach that person.
Yeah,
no comic can.
He's being willfully
sourpuss asshole.
Yeah, willfully sourpuss.
The majority of the people, you want them to leave feeling like their insides are just cleaned out by that hearty laughter. There's nothing more cleansing other than an enema than really hard laughter. And I want people to feel that clean when they leave the room. And I'll work like hell to get everybody, as many people as I can, to feel that.
You hear that, folks, up there in Crystal, Michigan? Katrina Brown promises to clean you out like an enema this Friday night.
The laughter enema.
Hey, a couple of comments. Matt Friend says, it's okay as long as your brother wasn't one of the 5 that raised his hand.
That is sick. That's twisted. I'm not from West Virginia.
And one of our regular 420 watchers, Tamsin, says, anybody who complains about your show should be shot. LOL.
Wow, I hope that's one of your friends.
Yeah, I have loyal followers. Okay. How now? You say you work the crowd. Do you like to work the crowd? Do you like to improv with the people, or do you like to go straight?
It depends. Like when we do our Q&A, I love it because I show up with material that I want to perform, and I don't necessarily like to get derailed by hecklers. But if people are there's a difference between a heckler and somebody involved in the show. So I don't necessarily say I don't like it, but somebody who is intent on disrupting the show, I can't stand that. If it's in the vein of we're all having such a good time that people speak up, that's different. But if people are intentionally trying to veer all attention to them and they want to be the show, yeah, I have no patience for that. I treat that like my kids and their toddlers throwing a fit. I can't stand it.
What do? Do you shut that person down, or do you demand?
Not immediately. No,
Yeah.
I try to figure out why they're doing what they're doing because, like, I was in South Carolina and I had a guy who repeated like the last word of every sentence, and I would take a breath. He would repeat the last couple words, and in the back of my mind, I'm like, that's got to be some kind of mental tick, you know? Like, what was it on Goodfellas? The guy who said everything 2 times.
Yeah.
Get the papers. Yep. That guy. I'm like, that guy's probably like that. He doesn't even know he's doing it. So to attack that person who may do that to everybody he ever hears speak, to just jump in and attack is kind of bitchy. I don't want to do that. I try to go, kind, and then funny kind, and then snarky, smart-assy. I don't jump right away because I don't think the majority of people have any intent on being malicious. I think they're just having a good time, especially at bar gigs, more than comedy clubs, because at a bar, everybody's more relaxed, I think, whereas a comedy club is more of a formal setting. I think when people talk at a comedy club, they're intent on being assholes. I don't think it's very, like, neighborhood bar atmosphere. And I think in a smaller crowd or like a bar instead of an official comedy club, I think people are just, they're out with their friends. It's their local hangout, so they're at their neighborhood bar. I just think it's different. You have to deal with people differently in a bar than you would at a comedy club.
Correct.
So I think at a bar, when people are shouting stuff out, you have to, there again, I think it comes with experience. You have to be able to suss out, are they intentionally trying to fuck me up, or are they having such a good time they can't help themselves?
Right.
And if they're having such a good time they can't help themselves, while you don't want it to continue so it ruins the show or it distracts everybody, you certainly don't want to cut in and be an asshole to them because they know the 15 people sitting around them. And now, much like if we as comedians do bad, our family feels bad for us. Now all of his friends are feeling bad that guy got attacked by the mean person with the microphone when they know he was just trying to have a good time.
Yep, and then you effectively shut them down as well.
Yeah. Now you shut down, 15, 20 people who were loving you a minute ago because you couldn't read the dude that was shouting dumb shit. Everybody thinks they're funny until they try to prove it. And normally hecklers aren't funny. They think they are,
right?
But they're not. But you don't want to be mean about it. You can't be rude unless they keep it up. And if they have no social graces to stop, then I'll eventually turn into a cunt. But it takes a while for me to get pushed to that.
Well, and you're exactly right because they're just there having fun, and they're not necessarily. They think they're funny. When they get put on the spot, then they try to be funny. Inevitably, they're not going to be. I found that when hecklers are the funniest, it's when they're not trying to be. It's just when they're being themselves and responding truthfully in the moment. Like that guy was this last weekend when we were doing our show in Tomahawk. That dude up front that what was his name? Putzer.
Right.
He just kept yelling stuff out, but he was just being him. He wasn't like trying to top what we were doing. He was just reacting in the moment, and it was a lot of fun. And it came up. We were able to come up with new material off of that. Yeah,
wasn't he said something about he was on loose because you weren't the only one that was having fun that night?
Right.
I thought that was amazing because it was quick, but it was still funny, and it was, I don't know, judging from that guy's face, it was probably true.
Lou Deck says, laughter also makes your happy-making endorphins come out. What do you think that means? That sounds like a sexual innuendo to me.
Yeah, he's such a sweetheart. He probably wouldn't say that laughing makes you horny, but I think it does. I think that when you get those brain chemicals popping, that, they're similar in that they're, energetic. Now your blood's starting to flow faster. You're getting the oxygen in your body, and the oxygen's going everywhere. Yeah, I think it can make you horny. I think.
And what else? Matt Friend also says, being a smartass by nature and not an ass on purpose. It's better for people to look at me and think I'm a dumbass than open my mouth and prove it.
Right. There are people, like my own brother, who I love dearly. I got my sense of humor mostly from my dad and my brother. My brother, bless his heart, is a youth minister, and you know how dirty I am on stage. But he comes to every show he can get to and brings his parishioners, like the parents of his kids that he preaches to, and he'll warn him, my sister's dirty, but there have been times where he's shouted stuff out. And I knew it wasn't intentional. Like, he wasn't trying to make my job harder. He wasn't trying to knock me off my game, but he was so in the moment of what he was hearing his sister say that he, blurted something out. And he'll always apologize later, and it never once has set me off. Even if it wasn't my brother, what he says, I can tell, is just in the moment and a little bit of a, laughter is a involuntary reaction. When something's funny, you laugh.
Yes.
And you may try to stifle it, but you're the intent to laugh is there. I think sometimes people blurting out dumb shit, it's the same thing. They can't help it. It's just like a mental burp, and it just wells out before they have a chance to bite it back.
Yeah, instinct kicking in, especially if it's someone that knows you and you're familiar with. My Uncle Russ does that sometimes, and he used to come out to comedy shows. He loves comedy. He'll sit right in the front row. He'll laugh at every fucking thing you say. He even watches my 420 Report lives almost every day that I'm doing this, and he's always chiming in. And I think it's just a natural thing. He's just used to having that banter with me. He doesn't necessarily make the distinction that I'm on stage with a microphone and a spotlight. He's just to him, we're just having a conversation like we do in our normal daily lives.
Right. Yeah. And that's lovable. I don't care.
Oh, I agree. Lou Deck also says you're marvelous, by the way.
Oh, well, thank you, Lou.
And Tim Yarber from Azusa, from California, from the Eagles there. He's Maureen's husband or boyfriend. I'm not sure. They're together. And he says, don't be a hater. Hecklers are people too.
Right. I love those guys. We got to get back out there.
I agree. That was so much fun. And
wear a shirt.
Absolutely.
My awesome Azusa shirt that I got special with the green glitter writing.
Hey, okay, let's wrap it up. One final question, though. If you could go back in time and talk to yourself before you did that very first set of, before you ever first got on stage to do stand-up comedy, what advice would you tell your younger self?
Well, I would tell myself to wait, because I tried comedy in my 20s and I sucked at it. I had no life experience. I just loved comedy, and it almost made me not want to do it later on. Like, I had a very hard time talking myself into giving it another try in my 30s. And I would go back and tell 23-year-old Katrina to just wait and, give life a little bit more time to unfold. It's nothing that most people remember, because I only ever took it as far as open micing at my local club. I didn't take it on the road. I didn't try to do anything more than make it a hobby, but I sucked. It was terrible. And maybe that grounded me to be better, to not go back into it until I felt like I could do it right. But I think I would tell myself to just wait, because it's worth having the experience to share on stage. I'm not saying 23-year-olds have no life. I'm not saying that young people have no experience. I didn't at that age. I had nothing to talk about. Just nothing. It was all pop culture ramblings with no punchlines. It was horrible.
Yep.
And I think I would probably tell myself to wait to save myself, just from looking back on that and cringing.
I started when I was 19, and the only subject matters I had was either alcohol, drugs, cafeteria food, or broken condoms.
Well, what's funny is at 23, I was divorced, but I looked 12. So even if I tried to talk about my real life stuff, people would heckle me, asking how old I was and calling bullshit every time I opened my mouth. Like, the real stuff that I did have to talk about, no one believed it was real. And I get that now when I talk about some of my weird shit, but at least I'm old enough now to convince them that it's real. Then people yelling back at me, and, it threw me off. It scared me. I'm like, I didn't know the audience talked back. I had no idea that could happen. So even though I did have stuff to talk about, no one bought it. It wasn't believable. My comedy was not believable. So. Right.
Yep. You get more credibility with age.
I think so.
Lou Deck says she doesn't suck at it now. Semper funny.
You got to look him up when we go back out to LA.
Hey, I know you got a lot going on. You're a mom, you're a wife, you got all kinds of shit happening. I just want to say thank you very much for calling in and doing this with me. And the folks this Friday night in Crystal, Michigan are absolutely going to love the show. And then we get together and go on the road here just in a couple of weeks. We're hitting at Fort Dodge, Iowa. We're going to Kearney, Nebraska, and then we're driving all the way up to Worland, Wyoming for the He Said, She Said comedy show. And I'll put all the dates in the comments, and I'll hit the share, and all you folks out there. Yeah.
I have to say, after our trip to California and back, I wasn't sure if you would get in a car with me again. So obviously, you don't mind Neil Diamond all that much either.
Yeah. No, I can tolerate some Neil Diamond. Tolerate,
right.
Keyword.
Right. I didn't do it the whole time.
No, I know.
I rationed.
You are very
right,
considerate.
Man, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on. And thank all you guys for watching once again. Thank you, Lou Deck, for your comments as always. Matt Friend for yours. Tim Yarber, hopefully we'll see you soon. We'll be back out in Azusa coming your way hopefully soon. Katrina, thank you very much. You can hang up now. I'll let you go.
Later.
I'll wrap it all up. Guys, go see her. If you're in Michigan, go see her this Friday at the Uptown Cafe and Bar. It's in Crystal Lake, Michigan. I'll put the information on that here in the comments and in the post information and blah, blah, blah. And thanks for watching. Once again, we had a fun time, 4:20 in the afternoon. And I do this pretty much every day that I'm home, just yakking it up to you guys live on a Facebook video blog. So thank you very much. Yesterday we had record audience for 420 Report, over 1,000 views, and the audience just keeps getting bigger and more fun. And I love doing this, so I'm really grateful that you guys tune in every day, and hope you guys enjoy just as much as we do. I'll see you tomorrow, 4:20 p.m. or as close as possible. Thanks, everybody.